Hi, everybody. Today it's even more special than usual. Yes, it's true. I know. I'll explain. Because I've been wanting to talk to you guys for a long time, especially ever since I had my guest, Gabriela, who actually is in Algeria and has her translation company in Algeria. And she was the one who actually talked to me about you guys and connected me with Christiana, and all of these things happened, right? So very, very nice to have you here. We're here because we are going to talk about the association, see if I don't mess it up, the Association of Language Companies in Africa, right? So we're going to find out what this association is, how it was born, and why it exists. But before that, I would just ask Christiana to talk a little bit about herself and to pronounce that amazing last name that she has. So thank you so much for being here, Christiana. Christiana in 3 sentences.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rita. I'm so excited to be here. I know this has been a long time coming. We've been trying to plan this for a while now. And thank you for hosting ALCA. So the Association of Language Companies in Africa, that's who we are. I am the coordinator for the association, and my name is Christiana Aboagye.
Yeah,
Yes.
you had to say it because it's beautiful.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, it was a long time coming, but now we're here, so we're going to do it. And then we have our friend Christian Elongue. I'm trying my best also to pronounce this last name because this one is not as tricky, apparently. So who is Christian, just in a few lines, and then we'll get to know you better.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Rita, for the opportunity. And again, as Christiana has indicated, it's a joy for us to be here and exchange about the Association of Language Company in Africa. I'm Christian Elongue. I'm one of the co-founder of the association and currently sitting on the board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, let's hear now from the person. So the person in languages, let's say. So Christiana, how did this happen to you? Were you always interested in languages when you were growing up? What is the scenario in Ghana, which is when you're from, right? Is that
Yes.
right? Well,
yes.
I'm like, oh, maybe I got my information wrong. But so what was it like to grow up in Ghana in relation to languages? Did you learn languages at school? Were you multilingual at home? So what was the story for you?
Right. Thank you, Rita. So for me, growing up, I grew up in a more multilingual environment. And basically, my heritage, I have an Akan background. I also have an Ewe background. And so it was paramount that I spoke all these languages growing up. Um, when I went to school, things were a bit different because the focus in school was more on learning the English language rather than the local languages. So I grew up learning a lot of English,
I can tell.
for school, and my interest in languages. So there has always been the notion that for Ghanaians, English language is the go-to. We had to excel in speaking and writing very good English. I had a little bit of French growing up in school as well. I later went to study French at the Alliance Française in Accra for a period, a very short period, because I needed it for work at the time. And so that has been my background when it comes to languages. The opportunity to join ALCA is an exceptional one. It came to me through LinkedIn. I had the opportunity through LinkedIn. But I must say that my interest in languages goes far beyond my childhood days. These days I see the essence of having the ability to speak other languages because it enhances communication. If I could speak Portuguese right now, I would have been rolling up saying a lot of wonderful things. If I could speak other languages, it would actually help me to be able to communicate with anyone in any parts of the world. I think that the Association of Languages, the Association of Language Companies in Africa has started something that, we didn't have before. Okay, so the coming together of 4 great companies. Mr. Elongue is here. and he heads the Kabod Group, one of the founding companies. We also have Khan Translators, headed by Alfred Matalawi, and he's in Kenya. We have Bolingo Consult, headed by a female, Adi Kolibali Namaran. And then we also have Fully Online, South African company, which is also, we also have one of the directors as Johan Bota. So these four companies came together, with the same goal to enhance or to grow the language industry. So I say mostly that they saw a need, because they have been in existence for a while. They realized that there was not cohesion amongst companies in Africa. They had also looked at the other parts of the world. They saw that, okay, the other parts of the world had associations that were serving as umbrellas for these companies. And so they came together to form ALCA. I think that it's a very bold decision. It's a very daring one. And of course, it has come with its own challenges and positive achievements as well. But this has been it for ALCA. We are barely a year old, and I'm glad to say that just in February we had our official launch in Kigali. So this is a little bit about ALCA and very little about myself. There isn't much to say about me. I serve as the coordinator.
But were you in the language business before you joined ALCA, or is this a new thing for you?
This is a very new platform for me.
So you were doing other types of work that involved languages, maybe, but they were not exactly in the industry, right?
Yeah, no, not in the language industry, but everything we do involves language.
True.
Yeah, so,
you got me there.
Everything we do involves language. So my background basically is in human resource management. That is where I had my education in human resource and project management and some other disciplines. But this is a new field for me, the language industry. And I must say it is vast and it is wide. And I'm still, I'm still trying to get around to know all that's going on in here. So yes, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hear a little bit about Christian. And as you were growing up, were you in the same situation? Did you have like a multilingual family or cultural situation? What was happening? Were you interested in all of that? Because I think you also have some relationship to Canada or something, so you probably also speak French, or is it the English that dominates your life, or are you super multilingual because you need to be? Is it a family thing? What happened there?
Yeah, thank you so much, Rita. So I grew up in Cameroon, more specifically in the town known as Banga. And if you know, Cameroon is historically a multilingual country. We are one of the most multilingual countries in Africa and probably in the world after Nigeria. So in Cameroon, we have over 300 national languages, which are spoken by the people. And aside that, we also have 2 official languages and 4 foreign languages who are taught in school. The 2 official languages are French and English, which have been inherited from the colonization, and also Spanish and German, which were from the German and Spanish occupation of Cameroon. So this makes that as you grow up in Cameroon, you are growing up in a multilingual society where at school you are being taught French and English and Spanish. Okay, French and English is more according to the area of Cameroon where you are growing up in, because Cameroon is divided into 2 main linguistic zones. We have the Francophone zone, which covers 8 regions out of 10, and we have the Anglophone zones, which cover 2 regions out of 10. So I grew up mainly in the Francophone zone, meaning that my education curriculum from primary to university was in French. It is when I got to a university that I choose bilingual study. And in bilingual study, then I learned, I was having some courses related to translation and comparative literature. So meaning that English was like an additional topic that I was doing at school. And I think I was blessed that the first teacher I had, he really had a love for English. So he was able of transmitting that love of the language to us, because we have to acknowledge that in Cameroon, many Francophone we usually say that your ability of speaking English is a divine gift. If God does not love you and he hasn't given that gift to you, then speaking English will be something strange. So
that
in
goes
general,
into the way that I see the world too. So
yeah. So
I love it.
being a Francophone and knowing, having fluency in English at the time was seen as a gift. And later on, what helped me to strengthen my linguistic proficiency is that when I got entrance to my bilingual study in university, I decided to do, teaching. I was a part-time teacher in secondary school. It was a way of getting additional financial income. As a student, even though the job was not well paid, but it gave me an opportunity to practice my English skills. And I remember the school where I was taught, I was teaching from Satula Senior High School. I went there, even though I was Francophone, I went there to teach English because I was studying bilingual in school. And there is something interesting that happened. In Cameroon, there is a way that people portray Anglophone, like there's a way they dress, there's a way that they are being perceived, Sometimes, for example, Francophone knows that Anglophone would like to keep hair, like some of them would like just keeping their hair, like growing up and not cutting them directly.
To be identified.
Yes. At the time, that was one of the identifying factor, of Anglophone. So
Wow.
when I got in this school, which was in a rural area, I was trying to see how to ensure that the student will also have that same love for English that my teacher gave me when I was in school. And I realized that usually when they are aware that you can speak French, they will put less effort in actually practicing the language, because they will just want you, the English teacher, to say what you have said in French so that they can easily get it. So I realized that one way for me to be effective was for them not to know that I can speak French.
I love it.
So I'll be coming, preparing my lesson and being in front of them, except the director of the school who knew that I could speak French. All of them thought that I was only Anglophone, because in Cameroon, actually, the funny thing is that...
So did you have your hair to identify you?
Yes, exactly. So I kept my hair going
for credit,
up, and cut them down. So I think it was just the faculty of the school, like the director and some few teachers, who knew that Christian could speak French and he was actually a Francophone. But for the majority, the way I was dressed, the way I was talking, I never spoke French in school, always speaking English. So many of them thought that I was
and you were divine, right?
Yes. So many thought that I was an Anglophone, basically. And this school was in the Francophone area, in a rural zone. So, but there was a reverse effect to this. The reverse effect is that as they knew that I couldn't speak French, so sometimes I'll be writing on the board the lesson, and they'll be insulting me or gossiping about me in the back in French, and I'll be hearing it. But since I claim I couldn't hear French,
at least you got the truth, right? So you knew what they thought.
Exactly. So I got to swallow, their gossiping, their murmuring in French, even though I could understand it.
And you couldn't react much, right?
Yes. If I had said that, oh, you just insulted me, they would say, so you can hear French. So I had to play along with that. But basically, it helped me to have more empathy for them, to let them realize that language learning is not something that has to be divine. It can be learned. There's a system to learning a language. And as far as you have the desire and you put the effort that is required, you'll be able of getting it. So along the years, most of them, change their perspective for English. How did I know it? When they started buying English-French dictionary, when they start buying their English textbook, and many of them later had a strong interest for language. So that's basically how I started. Later on at the university, I was also president of the Bilingual Club for National Unity, which was basically a club that was promoting unity between Anglophones and Francophones, because usually there are some cultural differences that are the foundation of some clashes or some misunderstanding. Yes, so the club was having cultural and intercultural activities to bring each zone together to foster understanding, to foster intercultural dialogue. So that's basically my early beginnings in a multilingual society as Cameroon. Thank you.
Wow. I love it. I love the story. That's a lot of cultural information, right? So,
Yeah.
Christiana, did you also use all of your background of languages? So, are all your languages, your family languages, your heritage languages, all the languages that you know, part of your life at the moment, or did you leave some of them behind because they were more related to the place where you were born? Do you still use everything for work? So, what's the current situation with your language usage? Or do
All
you do
right,
everything in
so
English?
all right, thank you, Rita. So for me, the languages that I spoke, Akan, and Ewe, and yes, I speak Ga as well. These are local languages that are not really used on the international platform. Although I know that Akan is being taught in some international schools lately, and I know that Ewe is also being taught in some schools. I use them wherever and whenever. I mean, basically, in my country, I use them. It is one of the best ways to go to the market and get things at a very cheaper rate. Because when you're able to speak the language, the market woman is able to sell to you at, a cheaper price. You're able to
Okay.
bargain properly. Yes, it helps in that respect. For work, I use English. I speak a little bit of French, and I don't want you to ask me anything in French because
No,
you
I
might
won't. Don't worry.
actually put me on the spot. And but that's it for me. I still speak my language. I'm so proud of who I am.
Sure.
You mostly have people who are purely Akans or purely Ewe or something, but then for me, I have a blend of all of that. And for some of us in Ghana, it makes us very special because then wherever we go, we can speak this or that. And to add to that, these are not the only languages in Ghana. I mean, we have a widespread, and even the northern part of Ghana comes with its own diverse dialects that are spoken. But in the capital, which is Accra, one of the recognized languages is the Akan or the Tree language, and that is why I mentioned that previously. So yes, I use English for my work, and that's basically about me. It's
Yeah,
mostly
see,
English.
of course you practice your English a lot, I can tell.
Oh
It's
well,
very, very good, of course.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Very soon we'll be having this podcast in French because I'm still a student learning my French. So watch out for me.
Yes, we can figure that out, I'm sure, with help. With
Right.
help.
Yeah.
Okay, so Christian, after teaching English, having your special hair, the God-given experience, how did translation come into your life? Because it came your way, right? At a certain point.
Yeah, yeah. So translation in Cameroon is usually a natural way of evolving, especially for those who have done bilingual study. So most of the time, when you do bilingual study, your level of mastery in both languages is increased. And growing in a society where you can easily find people who can speak both languages is an advantage. So, for example, you will notice that Africans who are from Francophone country, for example, from Ivory Coast, from Senegal and the rest. They have more difficulty in learning English because their society is multilingual, yes, but in terms of foreign languages, they just have one, which is French. So the advantage in Cameroon is that we have both cohabiting in the same land. So we have Francophones, we have Anglophones that you can meet on a regular basis. So most Francophones are passively bilingual in the sense that they can easily hear or have a basic understanding of the other languages. But when you do now and you study bilingual study, you become an active bilingual. So it's easy to become a freelancer. So that's where I started as doing freelancing jobs, translating for a local association, local NGOs, local community organization. And that's how this experience helped me to sharpen my understanding of the terminology, of the practice, and also computer-assisted translation tools. So that's basically when I started. This was back in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
11 years ago. Then later on, after practicing translation as a freelancer for over 8 to 10 years, I decided when I kickstarted my company, Kabod Group, that it would be interesting also to add something in which I am proficient in, which was basically languages. But my goal when coming into the language industry was not just to provide language services. It was basically to come and shape the industry, to come and build the industry, because and during my university years, I studied African study and basically African history, and I realized that there is so much potential that we have in Africa, which was not tapped, which was not fully leveraged, which was not fully maximized. And that potential starts first with our languages. And as we all know, language is the first marker of identity. The first way that you express your identity is through your language. So it's quite unfortunate that in Africa, our own languages are not able of generating enough interest to create an industry that can sustain the people who are speaking that language. And at a point, I almost became a bit, I won't say angry, but I became frustrated. Why is it that if I have to translate, it should be from French to English, but not from my own languages? Why is it that translation into foreign languages was more attractive, in my own country than translation in our own languages? So this was the burden that I had during my university years. So that's the reason why when I started Kabod Group initially, our mandate was to provide talent development or knowledge management services and e-learning services. But this burden for African languages compelled me to also do something. And I say, okay, to have a way of, being involved in the language industry, we added the language department, which is now known as Kabod Language Services. And naturally, our primary focus was to focus on African languages, ensuring that African languages are promoted, that they are valued, that they are used, and that people were actively, creating solutions to increase the use, to increase the access of African language through language technology, through, language research, through, advocacy, that those stakeholders, those language enthusiasts, that they were gaining a platform where they can share their story, where they can be more visible. So that's basically my primary intention when establishing Kabod Language Services. And over the years, we just have 2 years, but by the grace of God, much has been done in terms of creating communities of practice. So we started first by putting together what was known as, well, not what was known, what is known as ALAT, ALATT, which stands for the African Language Translators and Teachers. Is basically a network or a community of practice that brings together anyone who can speak or teach in African languages.
Wow.
And the group so far has grown. Now we have about 1,600 members on LinkedIn, where they are regularly exchanging on what they are doing, new initiative concerning African languages. So it's basically a community of practice. And it was after putting this together that later on, when we met with Renato Beninato, which was basically one of the partner of Adi Koulibaly, who is the operation manager of Bolingo Consult. So during a meeting or an event with him, we discussed about language association and his experience with, Latin American language associations, especially the Brazilian one. And how having umbrella organizations sometimes are interesting. Then I realized that, wow, then a bigger umbrella would be interesting. And I had been thinking about it, especially because I noticed that in the language industry, we have national umbrella. For example, in Ghana, we have the Ghana Association of Translators and Interpreters. In South Africa, we have the South African Translation and Interpreters also. So in different countries, we have at least one umbrella, informal or formally, that's bringing together all the practitioners of the language industry. But there was no umbrella at the continental level. And I was questioning myself, why? After a few investigation, realized that sometimes there were too many reasons why such an umbrella was not existing. Number one, it was I don't know if I would say myopism. Many were myopic in the sense that they were focused more on their primary, needs. They were thinking more about selling their language services. So, because, to build an association takes time and it takes effort. It takes, sacrifice in the sense that you may sometimes have to put your own business need aside to build the association. And when I remember the conversation I was having with Renato, he clearly said that focus, like he even though he acknowledged that an association would be good for a newly created language service like Kabod, the natural way was to focus on selling our language services and the rest. But since we were not created just to make money or to build an industry, we say no, we want to dedicate more time and effort on that. So basically, after the meeting with Renato, I went ahead and developed the draft concept note of ALCA, what we were envisaging to do. And I reached out to Adi with that draft, and together we went through it, we fine-tuned it, and we brought more people on board from South Africa with Johan Bota, and also from Kenya with Alfred Tawali from Khan Translator. And that's basically how, of course, there are other people that we reach out to, but indeed, this element of focusing more on the business need came into place. So all the people we reach out to, not all of them responded favorably in joining us to build ALCA, but the few who joined, they are still with us today, and they are currently sitting as board members of ALCA. They are basically Adi Koulibaly of Bolingo Consult, Alfred Tawali of Khan Translator, and also Johan Bota of Folio Online based in South Africa. So that's basically how ALCA was being established. So it basically it started with a passion for language, but not just anyhow, but a specific focus on African languages. And later, when I realized the need of putting in place systems, platforms to increase the visibility of African language, and also enabling freelancers, language professionals to have dignified jobs. Recently I fall on the Slater Index, which basically profile the top language company in the world. I was shocked again, because this is not the first time, to realize that just less than 5 African companies were part of it. I think there were 2 or 3 from South Africa and another one from Egypt. And one question that came in mind was, wow, does it mean that, out of the thousands of language professionals that are in Africa, only 5 companies in the whole of Africa are generating enough return on investment, enough profit to be featured among the top? There were 2 things. Either they are generating a lot of money and they don't want to declare it, therefore they are not listed in the study. Either they are actually working, but what they are gaining is so little that they are not having any weight with global LSP, which is unfair. It means there are inequities that needs to be addressed, because you agree with me that the majority of the translation work that is being done, most of the time, is being done by freelancers, whether they are based in Africa, in Latin America, or Asia. So it's not normal that majority of the work is being done by them, yet the benefit goes to the global north. So it means that the way things are being done, there needs to be adjustment. It means that the work of freelancers need to be more value, and individually we cannot do this. Individually, we have less strength, and partnership and collaboration is a key requirement to maximize strength. So an umbrella like ALCA, therefore, is there not just to, promote translation services, no, but to build a unified body so that we can help freelancers, we can help those who are on their, those who are working as solo, entrepreneur, to have more value and to gain more from the work that they do. And this is just normal, so that they will have more dignified jobs. So that's one of the key mandates of ALCA. Aside gathering, we want to ensure that the translation work being done in Africa is being recognized, and that we can engage with global players, global buyers, tech companies, who are in need of localization or language services, and that the work that is being done by these freelancers are being very much valued and that they get something good out of it. So that's basically why I am in the language industry. I am here to build and to do it together with others. Thank you.
Wow. We have a lot to talk about. This is what I know. So, Christiana, so when you came in, did you come in before it started, ALCA, before it started, or right when it was starting, or were you in the prepping stage, were you involved before, or you came already when it was established?
Right. So I joined ALCA in October 2023. ALCA was established a month before I joined. And yeah, I've been with ALCA ever since. So when I joined ALCA, they had just legally registered the company. And so we had to start doing ground up work, and to reaching out to the community, to opening up for membership, to creating our websites, our platforms. Well, the LinkedIn was established before I joined, yes. Other platforms, to design programs, to reach out to the community for engagement. Yes. So I joined ALCA just at the very beginning. Well, Christian and the other board members were the ones who came up with the concepts for ALCA. I have come to build on the foundation that they have laid. And I can say that the drive for ALCA is to, be responsible for the growth of the industry here in Africa. I think you've heard so much from Christian in talking about the need to be able to present African professionals and African companies on the global stage. And I think that I can't overemphasize that. That is a really important task for us as ALCA. And some of our like when I want to talk about our values, we stand for excellence. We know that we are a vast continent, and so cultural diversity is very important to us. And then we also look at integrity. And so we are saying that, look, you cannot just do things anyhow. You have to do things very well. These are some of the things that we stand for. These are our values. And so in the long run, we are saying that we want to be able to contribute towards building a very resilient and thriving language service sector in Africa. We want to make sure, we know that there are challenges in the continent, but we want to be resilient, and then we want to be thriving. We want we want to be able to have indexes, when marketing research is done or industry research is done, and have African companies, also in the top 5, top 3, top 10, making it big for Africa. I think that it will be a win for Africa and a win for the world as well, because this is what we set out to do. Okay, so in the past few months, we have engaged in very rigorous, programs. For instance, we started this year with a competition series. And, the essence of being competitive is to have a win-win situation. And so we say that, yes, we may be, trying to get the same resources in the industry, but we can come together or collaborate and win at certain instances. And so we started a series on competition. It went very well. And we also held a webinar on the same. And then we had our launch, our official launch. I keep smiling about it because we talked, we had a panel discussion for the launch on the growth of, the language service industry, the need for associations. And I must say that was a very interesting conversation for us, because we had a lot of input from participants and attendees of the conference to say that, yes, they see the need for it, but you would want to ask yourself, what is it that holds people back from coming together? And these are some of the things that we seek to, to explore as an association. So speaking of that, our objectives, we want to promote ethical standards. We want to make sure that there is a benchmark for the kind of standards that are set. We safeguard the interest of, our members, that's our member LSPs. We want to also foster open dialogue. We encourage the freedom of expression. Share your ideas, your opinions. Let's address pertinent, language issues, in African languages, and then let's work to promote a collaborative and holistic dialogue. And then we also want to strengthen industry ties. So we do not want to only look within Africa and say, oh, we are just Africa, but we're also looking at strategic partnerships. So we've been in conversation with Gala, just recently with Bliss as well. And we are looking, and also women in localization. And we are looking forward to have partnerships, strategic partnerships with as many associations or organizations around the world, because we cannot do this alone. We cannot build the kind of association that we want to alone. We need to stand on the shoulders or learn from others. And then we also promote knowledge and resources. We are saying that ALCA has to be that resource bank, knowledge bank for all LSPs. So we empower our members or the community with essential information on working conditions. And one of our goals for the month of April is to launch a certification program in collaboration with some freelancers and even some institutions as well, and say that, look, you should have a mindset of continuous learning, so that you can grow your business, grow your career as an individual or a professional. And then that is how we are going to see growth continentally. And so these are some of our objectives, as ALCA. And I'd also like to say that it's very exciting to be on this podcast, because I also think that this is a way for us to reach the thousands of people all around the world to hear about the good things that are happening with ALCA.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it too. Trust me. You can imagine it's been months that we have been talking about it. So I really wanted it to happen, because I think this is essential for anybody to know about, right? Everybody in the industry all over the world, like you say, internationally. It makes sense that everybody sees the world as a global place. And we always think about, the usual players, and we need to actually broaden our horizons and actually go a lot more into this route of getting to know other people who are also involved, are really interesting and active players. So they need to also have a stage. And this is definitely what I agree with. Yeah. So Christiana was talking about the initiative for April, and the episode will come out in April. And what other initiatives do you have planned for the near future? Let's say that, even if it's not very detailed, but just a few things that you guys have going on and have been programming.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So aside the April event, we are planning to launch the first annual conference of all LSP in Africa, which is planned to be in August. We do it in August because it's going to mark the first anniversary of ALCA. So we want to bring all of the industry practitioners together, so that we can have a deeper conversation and have a strategy that will help African LSP to grow, not just in numbers, but also in profit. Yeah, so that's one thing that we plan to have. The second thing that we are also working on is building connections. I think Christiana has briefly touched on that, because as a language association, there's a lot we can learn from other language network and association across the world, in Latin America, in Europe, as the Ghana, there are different others who have been existing. And as we all know, there is nothing new under the sun. So to be at the top, the easy way to go is to just imitate those who are at the top, and you personalize it to your own. So that's something we are willing to do, to learn from others, to work with others, to increase the visibility of language professionals. And I believe that is mutually beneficial to foster partnership. The third is, I think Christiana touched briefly on it, is partnering with African universities to develop certification program for African language. Because as at now, I don't think there is a certification for African language translators, and we think it's required so that we can have certified linguists in African languages who are recognized for their skills, and not just people who are on the ground and just doing freelancing. Because for industry standard to be raised, certification is a must, because you have to know who is truly entrusted to do what. And also, fourthly, we also, this is in the area of language technology. You will agree with me that in the language industry, from market research to translation management system, the niche that generates a lot of income is language technology. So obviously, focusing just on translation and interpretation without addressing the need of creating customized, machine translation software, customized translation management software will be a loss from the industry. So we have plans concerning that. We have a strategy in ensuring that we have more data about language, about African languages that have been collected. And in this regard, we have Open Binacle, which is basically an African company based in Germany. They have a lot of advance or progress in that regard in terms of generating large language model for African languages. So as the future evolves, we might partner with them so that we will have more apps that will enable people not just to translate from one language to the other, but also to interpret, vocal translation in African languages. And we look forward to a future where we will have a Duolingo version for African languages. We look to a future where, we'll have an African version of Trados, a customized, machine translation platform that will be, more specific to the nuances and cultural differences of African languages. There is a lot that we have in the pipeline. Not everything can be said. All we want to say is that anyone who is interested in adopting a collaborative approach, in joining hands to build the industry, we are open. And aside that, I forgot, we are also developing localization guide, for businesses who plan to expand to African market. So there is a lot we are working on, and we are open to join hands with everyone. There is this African proverb which says that alone you can go very, very fast, but together we can go very, very far. And we believe that going far is much better than going fast. And just to come back to something that Christiana was sharing, when she was sharing, she said, what keep people back from coming together is selfishness. It's selfishness. People, you remember I was saying that people are myopic. People just think about how they will gain profit for their business. But when you think about coming together, sacrifices involved, and not everyone is willing to pay that price to build. And we, at the level of ALCA, we are willing to do it. And we are blessed to have Christiana, who is very passionate about African language.
Yes, I can tell.
She's doing a lot, exactly, to make sure that we coordinate our efforts and amplify our impact. But basically, those who come to us will know something. We love challenges. The fact that there is a lot to do in the African language industry, to me, is the biggest opportunity that we have ever had. I wish others who were there would have solved some of these problems before I came, but since they didn't do it, I'm very blessed to face them, because I know that as we face them, a lot of opportunities, a lot of jobs, a lot of impact will be created, and we are willing to do it, So we love challenges, and we are glad to be where we are at such a time as this. Thank you.
Oh my God, I'll tell you the truth. My heart is now beating so fast because I am so emotional right now. I don't even understand what's happening, but just listening to you guys, the passion that you have for something that I'm also very passionate about. So like I say, this conversation, of course, now we kind of need to be done, because I know you have other meetings, other things to do, and I do too. I have my lock lunch today and all that stuff happening, but wow, you just really got me. So what I want to say is that I'm very, very happy this happened, but this is not just what we will do, because I will just open an invitation to any translators, anyone involved in the industry, to just reach out to me and be a part of the podcast. Come and talk about your experience, your difficulties, your joys, your passion for Africa, translated into languages, right? Because it's amazing. Most of us know nothing about African languages. It is just fascinating. It would only be a great advantage for all of us to have more knowledge, share what we have, gain from what you can bring to the table. So I open an invitation to anyone who wants to participate. Let's do an African month. Let's do whatever we can, but let's keep this going. I'm like, oh, you guys. So this was amazing. Thank you so much for this. But like I say, I guess this is just the first episode.
Yes,
So
I
this
agree.
was amazing. I really appreciate you guys coming here, taking the time to explain a little bit more what ALCA is, your goals, your plans, just scratching the surface. We need to know a lot more about what is going on. So thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And I say, I'll see you very soon.
Right. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Rita. We are so excited about this. Right. See you soon.
Thank you.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
thank
See you very
you.
soon. Thank you so much, guys. See you around. Bye.
Yeah.